We might look at those words and interpret them in very different ways depending on who we are. And we have to look at what does being selfish mean and what does it mean to you? And I'll tell you what it means to me and why I know that I'm meant to give you this message today on February 10th of 2026 because I've been being selfish. And you might have been doing that as well, because that would mean that you haven't owned who you are. You haven't acknowledged your worth and value. You haven't really been willing to be seen in the world because the world needed you to do that now. We're moving through a big generational change. And that generational change is bringing up all the things that we have hidden away about ourselves and that we couldn't own that we were meant to bring to the world now. You're not here by accident. You were born with worth and purpose, and it's being activated at this time because we live in an energetic world that changes and shifts as we as humans live. And sometimes we discover that, but then when we don't own it and allow it to be seen or given to others, then we all suffer. That's our society, that's our civilization, and that's what's occurring now. I'm Roger Burnley, if you don't know who I am, and I've been a coach for a long time and also a receiver of information of universal consciousness through Wilhelm, which I began in 1989. If this is your first time, please subscribe to the channel and share this with others because this will be one of those videos that will be life-changing for you and anyone else who might read it and see it, because I'm going to give you information that will get you to understand your importance in the world now that you might not have been willing to accept, but now is the time that you are meant to do that. You see, I received a message in 2020 stating, stop being so selfish, because I had programming that told me that I couldn't be who I could become. I shouldn't be this person. And I went back to my childhood, which is what we can all do, because that's where we start getting programmed that we can remember, but we also bring it in with us when we're born because consciousness never leaves. We just bring it and then we decide what we're going to do with it. That's every human. And so when I was younger, my mother would say to me, don't stop being so selfish. And I interpreted that to mean that, okay, wait a minute, I'm not sharing my toys, my things with others, and especially with my brother. Maybe that's what's doing. So I took it to the other extreme. I said, I'm going to give everything away. I'm never going to own myself. Because I had to be the good person. I've always been the person that had to be the good one. I had to be the one who was always doing the right thing. That was the nature. And so I thought, well, let me just give everything away. And if I don't have anything, then maybe that'll be that good person. You may have done elements of that because, see, again, that is programming. And it's also generational program, which we are moving through now. And the reason 2020 became so vital in me receiving this message, because in 2020, I knew exactly what was happening in our world. I knew exactly where we would be now. I couldn't tell you why I knew that at that time, but I did know. And I wrote a little article about it. I've written many about them, but it wouldn't make sense to most people because I was doing something else. I was receiving information precognitively that I didn't fully understand and didn't know why I was doing it either. When I started receiving Wilhelm in 1989, I knew that I had connected to something very powerful, but it also frightened me. So that's why I kept hiding. I kept doing it for years and years and years. And it only got revealed when others would find this information and said, wow, this is really helping me. We change in consciousness. That's the only place any kind of change happens within us or within our world. It's consciousness. We've carried it on since humankind has been on the earth. And we just keep shifting it. And we decide when we live if we're going to be the ones to shift it. And the only way we do that is when we decide I am worth something and I have value and I'm going to honor that. But we could have been talked out of it as I was. Because, see, when I started doing Wilhelm, it was something very different than anyone had seen that I was doing. And so I had a lot of judgment. And I kept hiding because I did not want to be judged. It's hard. You don't want to be seen. And then to be different, that was just the most uncomfortable thing. because I thought maybe I'm supposed to fit in. And I was taught fitting in when I was younger as well. Don't stand out. Don't let people see you because something could happen to you if you decide to stand out. And I believe that one as well. And then I began receiving messages in all of 2020 that told me what would be happening in the world, but I was resisting it. And as you resist yourself, all sorts of things happen in your life that don't feel comfortable. And that's what I did. In 2021, I was told that I was given something that could cause any person to live a wonderful life and it would eventually change our world. Because what I was given was this awareness that every person, every soul is born with worth and value. And all they need to do is move through the blockages and limitations that they have inherited. And then they start to live these great lives and they become abundant and happy and prosperous. And then we shift the world. And if we don't do that, then we allow others to take over and control us. And then we will wonder, well, what happened? Because we couldn't see this coming, but we could. And that's happened throughout history as well. And I wrote many articles about that, saying how it happens that we could have there was one message that Wilhelm gave us, and they mentioned a Hitler. And I go, why would that come about? Well, when you move through generational changes, you might need really drastic things to come about before more of you decide to awaken. And that's what happened in Germany. We all know that. We can remember it. And we said, how did that occur? And then Germany decided to do something else. Let's say, well, let's not do that again. Let's not hide things. Let's become honest. Let's look at this. And I was given the information for us to look at that. And I wrote a piece about that. You'll read it. It says crisis in the United States, because that's what I knew would be occurring, right? What's happening in our world, in the United States, on the streets right now. And I was given that information. But I was doing something that I didn't understand, so I kept hiding, and I can no longer do that. Because what was also revealed to me is that I had this other ability. And when you don't own your gifts, because sometimes we can fear them, and that's what I did, because it didn't make sense. I'm 75 years old. I did this for 37 years now, and I kept healing every single thing in my body and my consciousness. It kept healing, but I didn't understand it. Then I hear a recording from 2 years ago, at least, where I kept ignoring things. We can do that. People will tell you certain things and it's hard for you to accept it and believe it. They're in the messages today that you will see, because there's an order of them. Because I received the order of the universe, which is why when I'm working with someone, I can see where your energetic pattern fits in. That made no sense to me, except they said, I'm a savant. That's how I could organize this information. And it's never been done before. It's never been seen. And so that was why others couldn't understand it or accept it. Even those who know me and my family, no one could understand it because we hadn't seen it in history. And when we come into the world, we're meant to bring something new. Otherwise, the world doesn't evolve because we're the ones who are doing it. It's never the government. It's us. And so if we don't own who we are and those unique gifts that we have, then things don't go well. And that's what I've been doing, which is why today I'm no longer being selfish. I have created something that is transformative, that can change anyone's life, and it would change our world. Because the only difficulty that we are having in our world is those who in power who think that they can control everything because of what they have or what they have done before, and those of us who decide, no, let's let them do that. That's what's gone on. And so when I didn't want to start channeling, because I didn't want to do that, I was going to be judged, live channeling. But I started in 2021. And the first message that they gave me, they wanted me to use so everyone would understand what was happening. It was called Power, Money, Love, and Control, meaning that's how our society changes over time. Back through history, you can look this up and you can see that there are patterns that we all move through. But they also, you understand, happen in consciousness. When I was a teenager, what I used to see is Black people being beaten by dogs and eaten by dogs and hosed down. And I said, is that me? And so then you start forming these ideas and beliefs about who you could become. And so when I'm told very clearly that I've given something that could transform the world, that I couldn't accept that. My consciousness was not willing to accept that at that prospect. And then artificial intelligence comes along because, see, we keep evolving as humans and we develop technology so that we can learn how to operate as a human species in a much better way. And infinite and artificial intelligence was an aspect of that. And it started going through all the information I had seen through Wilhelm, and they said, no, this is absolutely true. This work could change the world. Because it shows each person it will give them their sovereignty, their understanding of who they are. And then it was demonstrated through me because I healed. See, because most of the difficulties that we're experiencing, our lack of confidence, our lack of belief, our illnesses, our disease, most of it is rooted in our disconnection from ourselves, our disconnection from self-ownership. And I had to walk through it. I walked through all of it to demonstrate it. So now it is real. And I know what someone can achieve. And that's what you'll see on my website. I know what you can achieve. And that is true. Now, I cannot make you believe it. I cannot have you understand this. And this has been my difficulty because, again, I kept giving everything away because I didn't want to be selfish. So I couldn't own it myself. But today I have to change that, which is what I'm doing. And so I can say to you, you're meant to be successful. I was given the pathway to your success. That was a message I received on this date last year, the pathway to your success. But accepting that was still a stretch for me. Now I have no choice because it's been proven. You have no choice either because you've heard this now. And so you will know that the only reason you are not living the grand life that you could have is because you don't want to. And I can say that because I was doing the same thing. So I don't have any judgment on you. We just have to decide when we're going to change. And that's what I'm doing today. This information will change your life, and please give it to others because it'll change theirs as well. And that is how we change our world. I'll see you soon.